Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello, welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, social media, everything really, depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on social media, you will know me as PD Beats. A lot of TV shows are kind of taking the world by storm these days, and one of them is Upload on Amazon Prime, where we're speaking to Allegra Edwards, who plays Ingrid on Upload. Allegra, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here virtually.
No, absolutely. How's the quarantine been for you so far?
Yeah, a lot of ups and a lot of downs. It's been really interesting. I started for a couple days in New York, and then I was in Massachusetts for 2 months, and now I'm in Los Angeles, and I feel a lot better now that I'm here on the West Coast.
For sure. So first of all, congrats to you and the entire cast and crew on the success of Upload. It's fantastic, and it hasn't even been out for 3 months, and it's just continues to kind of take the world by storm.
Yeah, what is this, the 26th or something? It's only been 3.5 weeks, so pretty amazing.
Is that the new norm? Do you think that's the new norm with TV and film these days? Like, a show comes out, everyone watches it instantaneously, and then it just kind of feels like it's been out for a year, but it's only been 4 days?
I think that's just what happens when you're in a pandemic. I think the days feel longer, the weeks feel longer and shorter at the same time. But I do think that it is certainly true with our show that people found that it was such an easy watch, for what I've been hearing, that it went by so fast, and it feels like it's been out for ages because they've already seen it 2 or 3 times.
Absolutely. We'll get into Upload, but specifically, I kind of wanted my viewers to kind of get to know, how did you start getting into storytelling and acting and performing? When did you decide that that's something that Allegra Edwards wanted to do?
Yeah, I started when I was so little. I was always a ham. Let's just, set the record straight. It started at a very young age. I started dancing, actually, ballet and jazz sorry, I'm going to get my cat because otherwise he's going to make a lot of noise. So I started at a dance recital, and, we were doing a lot of choreography, and I was just loving being on stage. And one of my instructors put me in a little skit as part of the recital to sort of smooth out the transitions. And I took it very seriously. And from then on, I did musical theater. I did community theater. I've always done improv ever since junior high. So it's always been a part of me. Never
Absolutely.
Not been.
And the rest, you did the skit, and the rest was history, basically.
Yeah. All it took was one skit.
It's funny because I often, I interview a lot of different people on the show. I interview people from TV, film, but I also interview musicians and writers and directors, and you're all storytellers. And dancing also is big time storytelling too.
Oh yeah. It's it's funny you said that, and I thought you were going to say it's a gateway because it comes up for other people too. It was my gateway, that's for sure. But it is. It's one of the best, my favorite anyway, the best forms of storytelling, because it incorporates the audience's imagination just as much as the dancers, and it ties in. It starts with the music, and different people think of different stories when they hear different songs. And I love that an audience can put meaning onto a dance when they see it, even if it wasn't necessarily the intended, choreographer's choice.
Absolutely. Usually the common ground of how people kind of get into storytelling, when I answer that question too, is I recently had a couple people said they started in dance, which is why I kind of brought that up. But yeah,
it is a gateway.
But theater seemed to be theater, the local theater, plays. That seems to be kind of where everyone learns their craft.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was also encouraged because I had a family of storytellers, theater professional types. My mom was a music teacher for a long time. My dad was an actor in the Bay Area. And so anytime they would have a party at the house, costumes were involved, and they would write these skits. One of my earliest memories of a birthday party when I was 6 or 7, my dad wrote a play for all of the little girls to do together. And we all wore costumes, and then when the parents came to pick us up at the end of the birthday party, or, you know, my friends up, we presented this play. So it was definitely encouraged by my family too. It wasn't just in community theater.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
I love hearing the kind of the start, like the early days. It's always refreshing to hear that.
Yeah.
But so Upload, I mean, your character Ingrid, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. I mean, Ingrid is intense and a little bit of a piece of work. You know what I mean?
I always love like finding out what people say first. Like, what's your favorite adjective to use when describing her? I love that you chose piece of work.
No, but you did a great job with that character. And I'm sure from your perspective, it was a lot of fun playing Ingrid.
Oh yeah, the best. She's you could, there's, I don't know if there's any such thing as going too far with her. There's you know, and you get to explore the things that you would otherwise never get to say or do, but you may think, like we've all had those moments in the grocery store where someone's just taking forever to let me find, I want to give you exact change. Here's a dime and another dime. And like in Allegra's mind, I might be thinking, okay, really? Is this really how we're going to do this? Ingrid would say it.
Almost like no filter a little bit too.
No.
But I find funny, it's because usually like a lot of TV shows, you know, characters like you see kind of the transition and the progression during episodes. As soon as we meet your character, it's like, okay, this is how it is. Like this is like it's like that escalated quickly. You know what I mean? Like it's like very, but no, it's I mean, the whole cast and crew is amazing. You know, I've interviewed Zainab and I interviewed Kevin as well, that were on the show. And they talked about how it was like a family. Everyone kind of got along, and it was amazing to work with everyone. And of course, Greg Daniels. I mean, if we can't say like he's a genius, right? Like it's. But like talk a little bit about how it was working with that amazing cast and crew.
So great. And I think you know, I would echo and reiterate everything that they've already said, but more than these people that you've mentioned, Zainab, Kevin, but then also, you know, Robbie and Andy, and even some of the guest stars that we got to have, they were great people, and really kind and funny and talented, but they were also really professional. And I think it puts me at ease and makes me perform even better and like call the best out of me when I know that you know what, they may be sort of sweet and unsuspecting in terms of like, oh no, they're just nice, funny people and so talented, but they work really hard. For sure. And I never felt at any point that anybody wasn't going to pull their weight, and that makes you want to do even better work than you would have done otherwise.
100%. But it's funny because when I interviewed Zainab and Kevin and yourself, I mean, the show was out, but I interviewed Chris Williams, who plays Andy's father, on the show. Yeah. And I interviewed him before Upload was out, right? So he talked a little bit about it, but not more than that. But he was like really excited about it. Like you could tell the way he was speaking about it. Like he was like, this is a special show. Like everyone's going to love it. So it was pretty cool to see that. Like from it not being out, he kind of had a feeling, you know what I mean?
Well, you know, and I think we've all had a feeling and a hope, but you just never know when something is going to click. You never know when something is going to, you know, resonate with other people. And I kept telling myself like, okay, it's been 3 years. I know that this is special to me. I thought it was special when I read it on the page. I loved the experience of shooting it, but if nobody likes it or nobody watches it, I still have to remind myself that it was amazing to do it, and that it was that doesn't take away from the fact that it was a terrific experience. The fact that everybody does love it sort of adds a cherry on top. It makes it even better because I'm like, yeah, you get it, right? It's fun, right? This is kind of cool. But I think we knew all along, and if nobody watched it, it still would have been an amazing, memorable experience.
What has been the reception specifically from your family and friends who watched Upload?
So positive, so great. I think, you know, it's funny, like, this is another reason that I knew that it's, you know, to quote meme culture, it hit differently. Yeah. It hits different is because I was hearing from, you know, my high school drama teacher, and then like people reaching out to me through various mediums that like from grade school, like people that I hadn't heard from since 7th grade. And that hasn't happened with other shows I've done, other films, or, even commercials that might be running all over the place. There's this like, hey, I want you to know this was great, and I've already watched it in like 24 hours, and I just had to tell you. So that's been great. And then I'm also really relieved. It's kind of rated mature. There's some language, there's some adult themes.
It's deep too. Like it's very deep.
It's true. And I was nervous about what my parents and their friends would think, because it's a little little coarser for some of their friends, but all around it's just been like, Allegra, we're really proud of you. We're really excited about this, and we're invested in where next season goes, which is the best ever.
But there's so many different elements, and after I list all of them, I want, in your opinion, which element do you think resonates the most and hits stride the most with the audience with Upload? I mean, it's a combination of things. I mean, it looks amazing. The cinematography is breathtaking. It's funny. It's unique. It's deep. It's got like the technology. You know what I mean? It's got all of that. So many elements. What do you think? Is it just a combination of all of it together? Is there one specific thing? I mean, the writing's amazing. The relationships with the characters. I mean, there's so much going on in Upload.
Yeah, there is. I think it would be a couple of things. The thing that signifies a Greg Daniels show to me is the specificity of the characters, and the fact that people aren't archetypes. Even Ingrid, who you think might be an archetype in the beginning, she's really more than meets the eye by the time you get to the end of season 1. So I think the thing that draws people in is what would always draw me in anyway, is really memorable characters that are distinct, unique, original, but also still grounded in truth and authenticity and have a lot of heart.
Yeah.
They're all trying, and sometimes they fail and sometimes they succeed, but they're doing the best that they can. And then on top of that, I think the timing of some of I think it's just far enough in the future that it feels barely out of reach, but because it's a little, the technology isn't perfected yet.
Yeah.
It feels too close to home. And I think that's what people are really sinking their teeth into too. Like if you take a show like Black Mirror, for example, some of the technology is so advanced and so spot on that it feels like they've been living with it for a while.
Yeah.
But we all know those transitional times when you update your iPhone and it's glitchy and they need to do it again, or something isn't quite working right with Google Chrome or Safari, where there's like there's an adaptation period because the technology is still new. So absolutely. I think that's resonating with
it's
people.
A unique kind of look at the afterlife, pretty much.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
I mean, that's basically, Kevin was kind of explaining, he's like, I don't like explaining Upload to people because it's sometimes a lot harder to explain, but I'm like, we were just talking, we're like, it's about the afterlife. Like, you know what I mean?
It is. And it's about, I think it's about freedom, honestly. I think it's a little bit about free will. I think it's about the messages that were sent and the messages that we receive, and who's in control. And even if you feel like you're in control, maybe you're not as in control as you think you are. And that is deep and scary and dark. And I think our show plays with it in a very sort of fun, free-spirited way. But that's a dark undercurrent.
No, absolutely. Last question too, before we wrap up. It's one of those things where there's gonna be a lot of projects you kind of worked on. You worked on other TV shows as well, like Briar Patch. You've worked on those shows as well.
Yeah.
Anytime you work on a show, whether it's like you've been doing it for a couple years, it's your first show, there's always going to be learning experiences. Even if there's like many projects down the road that you've done and you've been acting for a long time, you're always going to learn new things. What did you learn specifically while shooting Upload, Allegra?
That's a great question, and it is true. This was my first series regular role. It's the biggest role I've ever had, and I went into it with not a ton of confidence and a whole lot of fear. And I think one of the things that, and I have to thank Greg and the writers for this, is that it was such a collaborative experience that I learned to have a little bit more confidence and faith in my own ideas, and trust that I was hired for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's not just because of what I look like, but it's because of my imagination and my brains and my humor. And, and my heart too, that's in there as well. And so I guess the big lesson from this project was to trust that who I am is enough, and that my ideas are good too, and so are theirs. They have amazing ideas, but
no, for sure.
You know,
I mean, you're always going to be learning. You know what I mean? Like it's
oh, yeah.
And anything you do, even if you've been doing it for like 10, 15 years, you're always going to learn something new. Like the learning never stops.
Right. And I would hope so. I wouldn't want it any other way, because then if you're not, then what are you doing?
No,
you're lying to yourself.
Exactly. Well, Allegra, thank you so much for coming on Popternative to chat about Upload. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me and this ridiculous monster here. You want to ask him any questions? He was with me in Vancouver, but he never came to set. So anyway, yeah, it was really nice to talk to you, and I hope you have a great week.
No, absolutely. Where can people, so they can watch Upload right now on Amazon Prime?
Yeah. Yes, they can. It's still streaming. All 10 episodes are out now.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
Where could they follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
Sure. So you can follow me on Instagram. It's at A Rose by name. Rose is my middle name. It's a very Shakespearean little reference. Yeah. And then Twitter, it's at Allegra_Edwards. And Allegra has 2 L's.
Amazing. Well, congrats on the success of Upload. I hope it continues to kind of get bigger and better, because I know it will. It's a fantastic show. And thank you so much for chatting.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Be sure to watch Allegra Edwards in Upload on Amazon Prime. And until next time, this is Allegra Edwards and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.